In culinary school, we learn the axiom from John Ruskin, who wrote in the Metropolitan Cookbook that cooking is carefulness and inventiveness and willingness and readiness of appliance. It means the economy of our grandmothers and the science of a modern chemist. It means much testing, no wasting, English thoroughness, French art, and Arabian hospitality. I applied this axiom to the front material of my book, Mr. Song's Dinner Table. This is the table of contents from Mr. Song's Dinner Table. I hope that what I'm saying today will tempt your taste buds for your next trip to the Chinese restaurant. Today, I will tell you things that you may not have known about authentic Chinese food. I will tell you things that you may not know about American Chinese food. And I'll tell you a little something about my favorite Chinese dish. In her book, Chinese Food, his book, her book, Chinese Food, Liu Wang wrote that the masses believe that food is heaven. Needless to say, cooking has existed for as long as China has existed. And this belief that food derives from a heavenly source could very well be the reason why they put so much emphasis on what was served in every place that I went to while I was there. One major thing that I discovered while I was there was that Chinese food is not just one thing. In fact, from as far back as the time of the infamous Yellow Emperor in the early part of the 3rd century BC, they have recognized in China as many as 8 different distinctive culinary traditions. Here's a culinary map, and the hearts all represent different types of culinary cuisine. There is Lu Cai, which is from Shandong province. There is Su Cai, which is from Jiangsu and Huiyang. Hui Cai, which is from Huizhou and Anhui. Zhe Cai, which is from Zhejiang. Min Cai from Fujian. Xiang Cai from Hunan. Chuan Cai from Sichuan, and Yue Cai from Canton. The first 4, Lu, Su, Wei, and Jia, are from regions above the Yangtze River. The thing that distinguishes northern Chinese food from southern Chinese food is, of course, we stereotypically think of rice as indicative of Chinese food, but in fact, rice is more prevalent in the southern part of China and wheat in the northern part of China. In the regions around Fujian, going west from Fujian to Hunan, and from west from Hunan to Sichuan, there's a lot of tropical flavors because the region is, of course, tropical and subtropical. So you have a lot of watermelon, water fruits like oranges, bananas. You also have a tremendous amount of pepper, dishes flavored by pepper. And that gets progressively hotter as you go from east to west, with Sichuan being the hottest in what they call ma la, which is a pepper that is actually not a pepper but a berry that not only makes your mouth burn, la, but makes your mouth numb, ma. Going south into Canton, you have flavors that are more um, are milder. Some would even say bland, and that is where we get the food that we're familiar with um, today. If you actually go to a Chinese restaurant, most of them you will see somewhere in their name will say that they serve Cantonese food, and so that is that opens the door for me to tell you about um, American Chinese food. The Chinese began to come to the United States um, about 150 years ago. They came to work on the Intercontinental Railroad. They came, some of them, hoping to take part of the California Gold Rush. Um, in her book, it is called Chow Chop Suey. Um, Anna Mendelsohn mentions that these men were coming also at the end of the opium wars in southern China. Um, Liu Haiming says that um, they were very much discriminated against, were unable to buy land, they were unable to um, invest, some of them were even unable to marry. And so they opened up restaurants of their own, such as this one in this picture that came from Wikipedia. Um, and again, Liu Haiming mentions that they also appeal to poor whites who considered their food some of the best eats in the California Gold Rush. They they often were not able to find ingredients that were familiar to them. Now, mind you, these were not chefs; these were regular home cooks. They often were not able to find ingredients that were familiar to them at home, and in some cases, their flavors just did not appeal to the broader American audience. And so, what we know as Chinese food came largely as adaptations from dishes that they knew how to make, but needed to modify them to appeal to the American consumer. Let me tell you about one of my favorite dishes that I discovered before I got there, but when I got there. Before I left, my future boss sat me down in his house and he says, "There's a dish that is made from the fat of the pork. It's not healthy, but you'll love it because it's delicious." And it was. Turns out it was really just pork belly, which is where we get our bacon from. The dish is called hung xiao ro, meaning red braised pork, or dong po ro. And it's a braised pork belly braised in soy sauce. The red hong makes it because it was braised in soy sauce. But it is delicious. Um, this is a picture of a serving of dong po ro. It is, again, my favorite. I learned how to master it. And I think if you ever get a chance to taste it, you'll love it too. So today I've told you things that you may not have known about authentic Chinese food. I've told you things that you may not know about American Chinese food. And I've tried to describe to you my favorite Chinese dish. I believe it could be a grand experience. There are a few restaurants around the country that serve other kinds of Chinese food, authentic Chinese food that are not Cantonese food. Exploring these other dishes can be a great adventure for you. Ask your server if they have other dishes that might not be on the menu. Look up Chinese. There's an article in Wikipedia called "A List of Chinese Dishes." Look it up. Look up some of the unfamiliar dishes that may be on there, and see if you can find some things that have recipes that you can try online. I believe that you'll love it.